r/AskReddit. What is the strangest mystery that is still unsolved? The Overton Bridge. It's a bridge in Scotland where dogs always unexplainably jump off. It's very strange and nobody knows for certain why they do this. Dogs who survived reportedly walked back up and jumped off again. They even had to put up a warning sign to keep your dog on a leash and to watch them. A lot of theories say maybe it's because of certain scents or animals down below, but most people have disagreed with this theory. It's frickin' weird. I remember that a new theory, which is supported by most experts, has something to do with the bridge's shape and resonant frequency creating sounds only audible to dogs. These sounds mess with the dogs' perception and can drive them a bit mad. I feel like this might be easy to test by having owners walk their deaf dogs across the bridge and see if the dogs act differently. Unless the frequency resonates within the body by touching the bridge and is not picked up in the ears. From there, the owner could set their deaf dog on a thick blanket on the bridge. The Salish Sea Feet, or the Mad Axeman of New Orleans. The Salish Sea Feet are the approximately 20 dismembered feet found in or around British Columbia or Washington, USA. The feet sometimes are found still inside of shoes. No one knows how they got there or where they came from. Over the course of the last 13 years, the authorities have ruled out foul play. The Mad Axeman of New Orleans ran rampant in 1918 and 1919. He murdered 6 people, usually those of Italian descent, with axes or straight razors. In March of 1919, he sent a lengthy letter from hottest hell that was pretty nonsensical. But the most relevant paragraphs read, "Now, to be exact, at 12:15 earthly time, on next Tuesday night, I am going to pass over New Orleans. In my infinite mercy, I am going to make a little proposition to people. Here it is. I am very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all the devils in the nether regions that every person shall be spared and whose home a jazz band is in full swing at the time I have just mentioned. If everyone has a jazz band going, well, then, so much the better for you people. One thing is certain, and that is that some of your people who do not jazz it out on that specific Tuesday night, if there be any, will get the axe. There were no murders that night, because every dance hall in NOLA was filled to capacity. Clearly just a jazz musician who was really down on his luck and was willing to do anything to get a gig. If I recall correctly, jazz music was initially criticized as the devil's music. There's no specific evidence tying the murderer to the anonymous note, so my personal theory has always been that the writer of the note was just a random person attempting to spread fear about jazz music. I can clear up the feet thing. I'm a British Columbian, and I recently completed my education in forensic investigation. I asked 2 different professors, both former law enforcement officers, about it. People die at sea. Like, a lot. It's not at all rare or uncommon for people to die on ships. Every day or so someone somewhere in the world falls off a ship, gets in a boat crash, or gets pulled out to sea. One of the weakest joints in the body is the ankle. When a body decomposes at sea, gets eaten, feet are going to come off. Shoes float. The currents in the Pacific Ocean push a lot of stuff into the BC coast. We get garbage from Japan over here pretty regularly. There's no real mystery. There was just a statistically improbable number of feet at one point in time, which got a bit of media attention, and now every foot gets added to the count so it sounds like a big deal. But if someone were to do a worldwide analysis of body parts found washed on shore, BC's number, while higher than average, wouldn't point to anything nefarious. The whereabouts of the last Gestapo chief Heinrich Müller. The last verified sighting of him was in Berlin roughly 3 days before it fell. He had stated he knew full well what the Russians did to prisoners and he had no intentions of being captured. As chief of the Gestapo, he more than likely had access to foreign documents as well as ways to replicate them. Both the CIA and the KGB spent time looking for him, but no trace has ever been found. He probably went to Argentina like the rest of the Nazis. I briefly dated a Brazilian girl that was very German looking. Turns out her dad's side was German and fled to Brazil. Her grandfather was part of the SS. The Tamam Shud case, also known as the mystery of the Somerton Man. is an unsolved case of an unidentified man found dead at 6:30 am, the 1st of December 1948, on the Somerton Park Beach, just south of Adelaide, South Australia. The case is named after the Persian phrase tamam shud, meaning ended or finished, which was printed on a scrap of paper found months later in the fob pocket of the man's trousers. The scrap had been torn from the final page of a copy of Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, authored by 12th century poet Omar Khayyam. Tamam was misspelt as Taman in many early reports, and this error has often been repeated, leading to confusion about the name in the media. Def Cold War spy it. No doubt. It was around the time of nuclear testing in South Australia, all the stuff they found on him and at the train station being untraceable, having no identification tags. The book was probably part of cipher. They may exhume him soon. The main dude at Adelaide Uni studying the case married into the family suspected of being associated with the man. It's a weird world. Testing was several years after he was found dead. But the spy theory involves a uranium mine and the Woomera testing range. The suicide of Ellen Greenberg. 27 stab wounds in different areas of the body. Suicide stabbings are so ridiculous. There's a case from Denmark in 2003 where a woman was found dead by her husband who called the police and said she had killed herself. She was on the bedroom floor next to a broken lamp. Her wristwatch was torn off and her panties pulled down, and she had 179 stab wounds. Because it was a Sunday they had to call in a criminal assistant on his off day, and he deemed it a suicide because she had a history of depression. That guy who ran away from the airport hopped the fence and was never seen again. The guy's motive for shooting up all those people in Vegas. This one has bothered me for quite some time as well. The guy had no criminal record, no history of mental illness, no known religious or political affiliations, was financially well off, and no known relationship issues. Very strange indeed. I think there was some weirdness with his family though. No? His dad was an FBI wanted criminal who basically abandoned him, and one of his brothers got caught with child peen and had booby-trapped his house with explosives. I think it's safe to say he had relationship issues within his family. Some strange shit going on there. Asher degree. Girl leaves her house in the middle of the night during a storm and disappeared. The only problem is that she was terrified of thunder and lightning and had no motive for leaving, because her home life was fine. Then her clothes and backpack were found a year later in an abandoned construction site. Is this the girl wearing all white that they think is buried in a parking lot? No, she ran away during the early hours of the morning during a massive storm. She was spotted on the side of the highway, but ran into the woods when anyone stopped. She had apparently packed a bag with some clothes and books which was found buried miles away from her home. She seems to have spent some time in an old shed, evidenced by candy wrappers. Fascinating case and one that keeps me up at night. Why would drive a little girl to take off from a loving home into the night and the wind and rain in February? Was she meeting someone? Was she groomed? Unfortunately, the case did not generate much popular interest at the time. This case is so strange to me. Did you see the photo of the little girl they released that was found with the candy wrappers? They think she had it in her backpack, but don't know why. So many strange details to that case. Who was Perseus? From 1943 to 1946, the Soviet Union had a higher-level spy in the Manhattan Project, codenamed Perseus. This spy was a scientist at the White Sands missile testing site in NM, and the main research facilities in Los Alamos. Perseus saw pretty much the entire project start to finish, giving the Russians everything they needed to get to work on their own bomb. The fact that they were able to do so within 4 years of the end of World War II when their nations were still devastated is proof positive that Perseus helped a great deal. And to top it all off, Perseus was never caught or positively identified. That we know of. I don't think the US government would be keen to share the name of the person that sold out all their advancements to Russia. That's right. It could be embarrassing. Or the US could have assassinated him. Or the US could have turned him and work as a double agent. There are lots of different, but valid reasons why officials may not release Perseus's identity. Not to mention that this was decades ago and the very people who organized whatever happened may have destroyed enough records to cover this up permanently. There's a chance that despite US officials knowing who Perseus was back then, they may have covered it up so well that US officials today don't know who Perseus was. It's all very fascinating. There's also the chance that US officials simply never found out, because Perseus was such a damn pro. Congrats, you've made it to the end. You're a beast. Like and subscribe for more r/AskReddit content. It's free, so why not just do it?